The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk. The alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Eddakiika ziri 7 ezo ezakayita ku ssaawa emu ey'amakyago olunaku luno olwaleero lunaku lwakuna ennaku z'omwezi kaakano tubala 29 tuli mu mwezi ogwa Ntenvu oba Desemba omwaka 2022 wenjogerera ennaku kaakati ebula 3 zokka okuba ndoza kakati tezikyawera na 3 kubanga 29 omugjeeko tusigaze ennaku 2 zokka okubanga 2022 ate tumuwunzikira ddala naye nga nze njagala okubabuuzaako yonna gye musinzidde okubanga mutulaba mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala mwenna abakeera naffe abatukeererako buli lunaku obutakoowa munnange mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala mbakulisaayo nnyo mu nnaku enkulu tukyali mu ggandaalo okutuukira ddala nga lumu naye munnange nze munnange mbakulisaayo nnyo mu nnaku enkulu mwebale nnyo mwenna abaziiseemu obulungi nammwe abatasobodde kuziyitamu bulungi munnaye katusabe Omukama Katonda ate abagumye emitima abalwadde ate abakwateko munnange era abasuuse obulwadde ate obubaluma. Nze Omumbejja Luwedde Lilian era nga mbaniriza nnyo ku program The Mighty Drive ebeerawo buli lunaku olw'Emmande okutuuka olunaku olwokutaano eba ssaawa emu ey'okumakya okutuukira ddala ate essaawa 3 nga twogera ku nsonga ez'enjawulo tumubaamu updates oba ebimu ku ebyo ebyabadde mu mawulire oba ebyakoze amawulire ate gwe mu bitundu eby'enjawulo gy'otasobodde kubanga obeera awo nno munnange bw'obanga ondabyeko mukadde kano nga bwe kati omanya ate mba natuuse dde okuyisizaamu ku ebyo ebyakoze amawulire. Ensonga zibadde nnyingi nnyo ezikoze amawulire wiiki eno okuvira ddala ate mu ggandaalo ly'ennaku enkulu naye nga munnange nga sinnaba kubanga nga kuwa njagala okuba ate nga njagaliza amazaalibwa amalungi eri abalabi baffe abalungi. Kuno nno kuliko Justin Semwogerere happy birthday amazaalibwa ate amalungi emyaka gino gy'otuuseeko emyaka munnange omutozi yagikutuusizzaako era katumusabe ayongere ate okubanga akuwangaaliza ddala akwongerere ddala emyaka bufukunya ate owoomerwe ebibala by'entuuyo zo. Happy birthday Justin Semwogerere nze kankwagaliza olunaku olulungi n'amazaalibwa ate amalungi. Bwe nvaawo awo ngenda kubanga ate munnange njagaliza omuntu omulala amazaalibwa amalungi ono nno ye Brian Bruce happy birthday amazaalibwa ago munnange ate naawe gootuuseeko tusaba Omukama Katonda emyaka gy'oyongeddeko abeere nga munnange akuwangaaliza ddala kuwa ebirungi by'osinga okubanga ate oyagala era kulaakulanye ku myaka gino emipya ate gy'otuuseeko. So nkwagaliza amazaalibwa amalungi Brian Bruce happy birthday to you. Ngenda kubanga ate neeyongerayokko ngono gwenjagaliza amazaalibwa ow'okusatu ye Muhinda Ronald amazaalibwa amalungi happy birthday munnange emyaka gino naawe gy'otuuseeko tusaba busabi Omukama Katonda ayongera ate okubanga akukulaakulanya mu byonna by'okola akuteeremu obwangu akublessing akuwe emikisa ate munnange mu byonna by'okola ne mu bulamu bwo akuwangaaze era akwongerere ddala emyaka bufukunya amazaalibwa amalungi ennaku nga zino munnange tezituukeka kuba waliwo abatasobola kulutuukako oli nga tasobodde kutuuka ku lunaku lw'amazaalibwa ge naye bw'obanga olutuuseeko oyisanga ebibatu bibiri mu maaso ne weebaza omutonzi aba ate alukutuusizzaako oba aba akugasseeko omwaka omulala. So amazaalibwa amalungi eri bannaffe abatugoberera era abalabi baffe abalungi n'amannya g'ensomye wammanga Justin Semwogerere happy birthday, Bruce Brian naawe happy birthday, okonno kwogatta Muhinda Ronald naawe happy birthday. Mwebale nnyo okubanga ate mutugoberera era mwebale nnyo okubanga mutulaba. Kaakano nno ate ngenda kubanga mpisaayisa mu mawulire matonotono abako ebyo ebimu ku byakoze amawulire munnange mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo gwe ate gy'otasobodde kubeera. Nze Omumbejja Luwedde Lilian tuli mu program The Mighty Drive wabula nga ate tuli mu kanyombero aka Mighty Global News Updates. Kakati kanga kankuweeko ebimu ku ebyo ebyasobodde okubanga bikola amawulire. Mu ggandalo lino ery'ennaku enkulu munnange obubenje bungi nnyo obubaddewo era nga bannaffe bangi nnyo abalusuddemu akaba ate nga abalala babuuseewo n'ebisago eby'amaanyi okusinziira ku mwogezi wa traffic police mu ggwanga Uganda omukyala Farida Nampima yategeezezza nti obubenje 206 obonna ate bwe bwaguddewo wakati w'ennaku z'omwezi 23 okutuukira ddala ennaku z'omwezi 26 mu mwezi guno gwennyininyini ogwa Desemba. Kakati nno ebiseera abantu babadde bajaguliza ennaku enkulu wabaddewo abantu bangi nnyo ababadde batambula okuva mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo ababadde bagenda mu byalo okuba nga bawoomerwa Sekukulu n'abantu baabwe mu biseera ebyo bwe basinze okuba nga ate batambulira era nga obubenje buno bukosezza abantu 267 kuba ne 267 5 mu bataano ku bano munnange balusuulamu akaba era nga bano kakati munnange entamu zaabwe zaavuunikibwa dda 5 mu bataano ku bano era nga bo 212 babuukawo ate n'ebisago eby'amaanyi. Abantu abalala bangi nnyo abazze bakwatibwa olw'okuba nti bamenya amateeka gano ag'oku nguudo. Ngenda kubanga ate nkuwa details endala ezisingawo ku ezo naye nga abantu obubenje buno okusinziira ku mukyala Farida Nampima yategeezezza nti obumu ku bo buvudde ku kuvuga ndiima, okuvugisa ekimama ku kkubo, obutagoberera ate bupande bwa ku nguudo munnange n'ebirala bingi nnyo. Obubenje bubaddewo nnyo mu season eno ate ey'ennaku enkulu naye nga yategeezezza nti bw'otunuulira mu mwaka gwa 2021 mu biseera eby'ennaku enkulu obubenje munnange ate bwali buyitirivu era nga yategeezezza nti okusinziira ku alipoota gye bafulumiza eraga nti obubenje bwakendeddemukko sizoni eno oba ate ku mulundi guno munnange obubenje bwakendeddeko nga bw'otunuulira ennamba y'abantu abalumiziddwa mu bubenje buno n'ennamba y'abantu abaafudde nti ku mulundi guli abaafa baali 5 mu bataano naye nga ate baali 6 mu bataano naye ate ku mulundi guno babadde 5 mu bataano era nga n'abaalumizibwa abaali basobera ddala mu 2 naye nga munnange ku mulundi guno waliwo ku njawulo era nga waliwo okuba nti waliwo okukendeeramukko. Kakati waliwo abantu abakwatiddwa era nga abantu abawerera ddala 3519 bano nno bakwatiddwa era nga baweereddwa ebipapula era munnange bano ku bo 652 baweereddwa ebipapula lwa kuvugisa kimama nga 640 bo bavuze emmotoka ziganyegenya emmotoka munnange ng'olabira ddala eweddeyo bano nno be bamu ku baweereddwa ebipapula. Kakati abalala 311 bano nno basangiddwa ne pamiti nga zaggwako 311 nabo baweereddwa ebipapula era nga pamiti zaabwe bo zabadde zaggwako. 232 bano nno babadde bavuga ndiima era nga bano baweereddwa ebipapula. Okonno kwogatta 165 bano baweereddwa ebipapula lwa buteesiba misipi. Munnange bakozesa ebidduka ndooza munnange mubeere basaale nnyo ku nsonga ez'enjawulo. Mulimu ebintu by'olaba ng'ebiri mayina naye ng'ate bisobola okuba nga bireeta obuzibu nga oli ku kkubo okugeza obuteesiba musipi munnange oli okuvuga emmotoka ng'agirabira ddala mu butuufu eweddeyo naye nga ye akyagenda maaso n'okuba nga agivuga emmotoka ziganyegenya abalala kuvuga ndiima abalala kuvugisa kimama waliwo abamu abavuga emmotoka ng'ate ali ku ssimu enayogera ku ssimu eno bw'avuga emmotoka so abo nno be bamu ku baaweereddwa ebipapula ate eby'enjawulo naye nga mu district ey'Ekumi wabaddeyo accident emitiyana ku Jinja Road emu ku nsonga gye bawadde nti oluguudo luno lulimu ebinnya bingi nnyo naye ng'ate lwe lumu ku luguudo olusinga okubeera bize kuba nti lukozesebwa ab'ebidduka ab'enjawulo kuno nno kugatta Masaka Road eyo nayo obubenje bubadde bungi nnyo mu kiseera kino ate ekyennaku enkulu era nga mukyala Farida Nampima yasabye abakozesa ebidduka okubeera ate abeegendereza okugoberera road signs ffe bwe twasomeranga edda nga bazitusomesaako nti munnange buli wobeera ku kkubo weegendereze nnyo obupande obwo obw'oku kkubo bukulabula ebintu bingi nnyo waliwo obukulabula amakoona waliwo obukulabula humps waliwo obukulabula nti waliwo wano waliwo essomero abaana ssaawa yonna bayinza okubaawo abaana abasala so abavuga baba abakozesa ebidduka munnanga ate mubeere beegendereza nnyo mu bubenje buno era abamu ku basinze okukosebwa kigambibwa nti abatambuza ebigere oba pedestrians mu luzungu be bamu ku basinze okuba nga bakosebwa era nga omukyalo ono Nampima yategeezezza nti obanga okimanyi nti oli mu kukozesa kkubo naye ng'olikozesa budde bwa kiro munnange beera nga oyambala engoye ezaaka bw'obanga otambula yambala waakiri olugoye olweru nti oli bw'anaabanga alabye asobola okuba nga ategeera nti ono omuntu yatambula naye ate bw'oyambala engoye enzirugavu bayinza obutategeera nti ani aliwo era nga kino kiyinza okuviirako ate obuzibu okwo nno kwogatta ababoodaboda abagoba ba drivers n'abalala ate bangi nnyo abakoseddwa mu sizoni eno kakati ngenda kubanga neeyongerayo ennaku z'omwezi 31 buli we zituuka munnange bannayuganda baba mu kucacyanca okuba nti bagenda kubanga bava mu mwaka omukadde okudda mu mwaka omupya era nno wano wabaawo ebijaguzo eby'enjawulo abagenda mu masinzizo abagenda okusanyukamu n'okweyagalamukko era nabo bagenda so buli weziwera ssaawa 6 wabaawo okutulisa ebiriroliro mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo naye nga yo poliisi yavuddeyo ate neteekawo measures ez'enjawulo zirina okuba nga zigobererwa eri abo bonna abagenda okutulisa ebiriroliro mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo kuno nno kwe kuli amakanisa oba ate ebifo abantu gye basabira okwo kwogatta hotels ez'enjawulo mulimu ebifo ebirala bingi nnyo era nga bano munnange bakkiriziddwa okuba nga batulisa ebiriroliro bibo bokka abaafunye olukusa okuviira ddala ku poliisi era nga omwogezi wa poliisi mu ggwanga Uganda omukulu Fred Enanga yategeezezza nti munnange ba DPC ne ba RPC baveeyo ate babayambeko mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo okulondoola ebifo bino awagenda okuba nga watulisizibwa ebiriroliro era nga balina okuba nga bagoberera ebintu eby'enjawulo okwo nno kwe kuli okugaana abantu okunywera sigala oba okusmokinga okuliraana we bagenda okutulisiza ebiriroliro okubaako n'ebizikiza omuliro ba fire extinguishers okutegeezaako ku poliisi bannamawulire LCs nti munnange mu kifo bwekiti ne bwekiti wagenda kubaawo ate okutulisa ebiriroliro era n'okutangira abantu okutuukira ddala wali wennyini ebiriroliro we bigenda okuba nga ate bitulikira balina okuba nga munnange bagoberera emitendera gino okusobola okwewala ate munnange ensonga yonna okuba nga etuukawo era nga omukulu Enanga yategeezezza nti abantu ne baba nga balabye nga ebiriroliro bino bye bagenda okutulisa bigenda munnange kukyankalanya embeera y'obudde baali badde ate basalawo busazi ne babireka era nga munnange ebirala bingi nnyo beadvisinze okuba nga bateeka mu nkola okusobola okuba nti beewala ensonga yonna okuba nga ate etuukawo ng'abantu bwe bagenda mu maaso n'okuba nga bajaganya so buli anyumirwa munnange nyumirwa n'obwegendeza naye abamu ku bo abazze bategeka ebivvulu era nga batulisa ebidirulido bino bategeezezza nti munnange bo bamaze ebbanga nga bakikola so tebeetaaga kuwabulwa kwonna kwonna okuba nti bagenda maaso n'okukola emirimu gyabwe naye nga munnange kino nno poliisi yakikoze kuba nti wabaawo okwetangira ebikola byonna byonna ebyobumenyi bw'amateeka ebiyinza okutuukawo oba ate n'okulumya abalala nga bwe bagenda maaso n'okuba nga bajaguza so ngenda kuba nga neeyongerayoko era nga ngenda kuba nga neeyongerayo n'ensonga endala oba neggulire ddala poliisi yamaze okuba nga ekakasa nti erina abantu ba famire abawerera ddala 7 abaakwatibwa ku bbalaza ya sabbiiti eno bano nno nga baali baviira ddala eri ebuyikwa okuva mu famire ya mwami Abeka Bisaso. Omwogezi wa poliisi mu ggwanga Uganda omukulu Fred Enanga era yategeezezza nti munnange bano nno bo be babalina era nga bali ku kitebe ekya JAT oba Joint Anti-Terrorism Task Force ekireka gye bagenda mu maaso n'okuba nga munnange babakuumidde era nga kigambibwa nti bano bayinza okuba nga balina kye bamanyiiko ku bulumbaganyo obadde bugenda mu maaso ku poliisi era nga munnange bano gye bagenda mu maaso n'okuba nga bababuuliza akana n'akataano ku nsonga ezo. Abafamire bo gye buvuddeko aba olunaku okwoseggulo bavuddeyo nga babanja abantu baabwe nga bagamba munnaye baagala bamanye abantu bano awatuufu bwe bali butya bwe basobola okuba nga ate babatuukako naye nga omwogezi wa poliisi mu ggwanga nga bwe nkutegeezeza omukulu Fred Enanga yavuddeyo n'ategeeza oba n'akakasa nti munnange abantu bano be babalina era nga be bagenda mu maaso n'okuba nga bababuuza akana n'akataano ku nsonga ez'enjawulo oba ku byekuusa ku bulumbaganyi obubadde bukolebwa ku poliisi ebbanga ate eriyise. Bano nno bakwatibwa era ne bateekebwa mu kika ky'emmotoka eya drone era nga kigambibwa nti ye yabanona okuva mu maka gaabwe nga kuno nno kwaliko n'omwana ow'emyaka 13 so munnange abantu abo poliisi yategeezezza nti ye balina. Kakati yo gavumenti nga eyita mu ministry ey'ekikula ky'abantu bagenda maaso n'okuba nga boogerezeganya n'obwakabaka bwa Saudi Arabia okuba nti bazza bujja endagaano n'eggwanga lino erya Uganda okuba nga eggwanga Uganda babawa ate abakozi. Endagaano eno yabadde yaweddeko ng'ennaku z'omwezi 27 ogw'Ekkumi oba Ntenvu 2022 naye nga munnange Uganda oba gavumenti yaku negenda mu maaso n'okuba nga eyogerezeganya n'obwakabaka obwa Saudi Arabia okuba nti ate contract eno oba endagaano eno ezzibwa obujja okusobola okuba nti bakolera wamu. Munnange Uganda y'emu ku ggwanga omubadde muva abayambi oba aba house managers ababadde nga bagenda mu ggwanga lya Saudi Arabia kwogatta ne bannayuganda abakola emirimu ate egy'enjawulo naye nga contract eno wakati w'eggwanga erya Uganda n'obwakabaka obwa Saudi Arabia munaye yabadde eweddeko naye nga gavumenti ya kuno egenda mu maaso n'okuba nti ekola ekisoboka okuba nti bazza bujja ate endagaano eno yali yasayiningibwa mu mwaka gwa 2017 kitegeeza endagaano eno ebadde ya myaka 5 so munnange yaweddeko mu mwaka guno gwennyini gwe tulimu ng'ennaku z'omwezi 27 katusuubire banaawulira okusaba kwaffe munnange ate endagaano eno ne bagizza obujja. Kakati ngenda kubanga neeyongerayo ensonga nnyingi nnyo ezaakoze amawulire omuli ba health workers abakola mu district ey'Emubende bwe waaliyo ekirwadde ekya Ebola awamu ne Kasanda bano nno nga beemulugunya okuba nti tebannaba kubanga basasulwa baakola mu biseera ebyo byonna naye ate tebannaba kubanga munnange basasulwa essente zaabwe. Akono kugatta ate ensonga ez'enjawulo wenjogerera kakati ekibiina kya NRM kyamaze dda okuba nga kiwanda eddusu ku mutabani w'omugenzi oba wabadde Honorable Wasserere omugenzi kati Okabe era nga kigambibwa nti ono yagenda okubanga abakwatira bendera mu kalulu ate k'okulonda omubaka wa Siriri. Kinajjukirwa omubaka ono yafiira mu kabenje wamu ne mukyala we era nga munnange abannakibiina kya NRM bategeezezza nti bagenda kubanga omutabani w'omugenzi gwe bawandako eddusu okubanga abakwatira bendera mu kalulu ate akagenda okubanga kaddibwamu munnange gye bujjakaawo mu maaso. Kakati kino kigenze kyeyoleka nti buli wabaawo omuntu afudde oba honorable yenna afudde ng'abadde akyaweereza munnange asikizibwa oluusi ow'oluganda lwe oba omwana we tuzze tukirabako omugenzi Serena Nebanda bwe yava mu bulamu bw'ensi eno ono nno eyamuddira mu bigere yali wa luganda lwe era ne wabaawo mubaka omulala yali wa kibiina kya Democratic Party yafa mu biseera ebya COVID-19 era ono n'asikizibwa muwala we yali speaker wa parliament Jacob Olanya bwe yava mu bulamu bw'ensi eno ekifo kye yaliko eky'omubaka wa parliament owa Omoro munnange ono nno mutabani we ye yamusikira era nga ekifo kino ye yakiwangula abannakibiina kya NRM bwe bamuwandako eddusu okubanga ate abakiikirira mu kalulu ako. Kakati era tuzzeemu tukirabyeko n'omugenzi Okabe bwe yafudde ekifo kye banna NRM basazeewo ne bagamba nti munnange mutabani we gutulabanga asobola okubanga amuddira mu bigere. Kakati endowooza eyo yegenda bwekito bwe kigenda okubeera nti oli bw'anaabanga avudde mu bulamu bw'ensi eno owooluganda lwe oba omwana we bw'abanga asobola okutekinga on position eyo kibeera ddala kibeera kyakabi basobola okubanga bamuwandako eddusu n'asobola okubanga ate addira taata we oba owooluganda lwe abavuddewo mu bigere. Munnange bibyo ebimu ku ebyo ebyakoze amawudde mu bitundu by'eggwanga ebyenjawulo. Okyalaba the mighty drive era nga nze Omumbejja Luwedde Lilian okubanga ate nkutuusaako updates oba mighty global news updates amawulire agabadde mu bitundu by'eggwanga ebyenjawulo. So tugenda mu kuwumulamuko katono nnyo bwe tukoma mu mighty drive egenda kubanga egenda mu maaso. Tukuba tooci mu mwaka gwa 2022 bwe gubadde mubaddemu ensonga nnyingi nnyo. Ensonga ezikwata ku byobufuzi, ensonga ezikwata ku ddembe ly'abantu, ensonga ezikwata ku byobulamu, ensonga ezikwata ku byenfuna n'ebirala bingi nnyo ebibaddewo mu mwaka gwa 2022 bingi nnyo. Tugenda kubanga ate tubyogerako ebibaddewo mu myezi egy'enjawulo tugenda kubanga munnange tubyogerako. So tuulakalira programu eno egenda kubanga ewunzikibwa ku ssaawa 3 ez'amakyate ag'olunaku luno olwaleero. So tuula ate tusobole okubanga tukusoosootolera emboozi ez'enjawulo nga bwe zibadde oba nga bwe zikoze amawulire mu mwaka guno ogwa 2022. Kakati no munaye gwe guno omwaka bwe twaviirwako abakulu ab'enjawulo kwali yali speaker wa parliament ne tuviirwako munnamagye eyawummula era nga munnange n'ebirala bingi nnyo. So katukomewo katono nnyo tugenda kuba tugenda mu maaso ne program yaffe the mighty drive temuvaawo.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I
I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
as he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Kulikayo nnyo mu kuwumulamu okwo program The Mighty Drive ye program gy'ogenda maaso n'okubanga olaba nze Omumbejja Luwedde Lilian okubanga ate njikutuusaako era nga mu studios negatiddwako bannange babiri oba abakulu babiri okuli Kato Tumusiime era nga ono advocate oba munnamateeka omutendeke okuno kwogatta Rogers Tulyahabwe era nga naye munnamateeka ate nga bonna batunuulizi ba nsonga nga bwe zigenda maaso mu ggwanga erya Uganda n'ebitundu by'eggwanga ate ebyenjawulo munnange tuulakalira tugenda kubanga tuwayamu nabo kutuukira ddala ku ssaawa 3 ez'amakya g'olunaku luno olwaleero nga tugenda maaso n'okuba tooci mu mwaka 2022 nga bwe gubadde ebingi nnyo ebituuseewo mubaddemu ensonga ya ECOP, mubaddemu ensonga y'ebyenfuna, mubaddemu ensonga y'ekiwamba bantu, ensonga y'okutyoboola eddembe ly'obuntu, ensonga z'ebyokwerinda n'obutebenkevu bw'eggwanga, ensonga z'ebyenjigiriza, ensonga z'ebyobulamu n'ebirala bingi nnyo ebikwata ku mbeera z'abantu ebibaddewo mu ggwanga lino erya Uganda era nga mu bitundu by'eggwanga ebyenjawulo ensonga zino zibadde ensonga nkulu nnyo. Tulabyeko ebintu ebyenjawulo ebituuseewo muno nno mu mwaka mwe twafiirwa eyali sipiika wa Parliament Jacob Olanya era nga we yafiira e Seattle ebingi nnyo ebyayogerwa nti lwaki munnange bamujjanjabidde eyo lwaki tebamujjanjabidde wano n'ebirala bingi nnyo abantu bye bagenda maaso n'okubanga boogerako. So ngenda kubanga nnyaniriza abakulu batulamuseeko ate munnange n'oluvannyuma programu yaffe tugitambulizaawo mpola mpola osobola okubanga naawe otubuulira eggulire eryasinga okubanga likkolera oba erisinza okubanga likkolera mu mwaka ogwa 2022 teekayo endowooza mu comment section nja kubanga ngisoma. Nyinza okuba tuyinza obutalyogerako oba tuyinza obutalikoonako wano naye nga gwe olaba eggulire eryo lyakukwata mu mubabiro obanga ate waliwoomerwa buva. So kanyaniriza abakulu bendi nawo mu studios program yaffe tugijjeko ate akawuwo. Ntandise naawe mukulu Rogers Tulyahabwe. Ogenda mu ekkooti ndabira ddala ng'onekaaneka. Okay, are you going?
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Disregarding the questions from Lilian. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure again to be here this morning. My name is Rogers Tulyahabwe, and I am here not as an expert in any particular thing, but as someone who has an opinion. And as a way as I look at things, I come and give my perspective on a particular issue. And the good thing is here at Turinga Mainstream, you can participate. Where you think I am wrong, you can correct me. Where I think you are wrong, we can talk about that and reach a conclusion. Other than that, thank you so much for being here. I look forward for a good discussion.
Okay. Ensonga nga bw'ozireese mu Luzungu nyinza okubizaayo mu Luganda naye sigenda kukikola olwaleero. Kansooke nyanirize mukulu Kato Tumusiime naye alamuse kuba tulaba.
Yes, Lilian.
I'm so happy this morning. Welcome back from Christmas.
Thank you so much.
Jo nakuwulidde ng'ogamba nti tewagenda mu kyalo naye nga si buzibu bwaffe okuba nti tewagenda mu kyalo.
Sagenda.
Naye nakuwulidde jjo ku
I didn't
show
want to go.
I didn't go to the village. Yeah, I was in Kampala. We were here.
Lilian, but that was my decision not to go. I think nobody stopped me.
Yeah, for a Kampala experience.
Rogers.
Sorry.
Good morning, our viewers, and thank you so much for tuning in to our programs. I'm Kato Tumusiime. I'm a lawyer, and I have my own opinions as an individual. Like Rogers said, we can agree or disagree on different opinions, but they remain my opinions. And the advantage we have here is that you can also participate and give your opinions, and then we see. We gauge and see eriwe sinze oba eriwa
which one holds more
erimu akagumba. Thank you, Lilian, and I look forward to a grateful discussion.
Okay. Ndoza tugenda maaso oba tugenda kuba tutandika okubaganya ebirowoozo ku nsonga ez'enjawulo. Ndoza olunaku olw'ejjo mwakomye kuba ku nsonga ya Chief Justice Owiny Dollo okugenda ate munnange Emmengo okwetonda ku bigambo bye yali yayogera munnange ku kabaka wa Buganda okubanga naye yali afulumye eggwanga ogenda ofuna obujjanjabi. Kakati bino yabyogera ng'asinzidde ku ebyo ebyali byayogerwa ku mugenzi eyali speaker wa parliament honorable oba takyali honorable takyali honorable, right? Ngeri gye yali nti yavambula asigala ali honorable Jacob Olanya. Ono bwe yali agenza okufuna obujjanjabi mitala w'amayanja, unfortunately yafiirayo, era nga bannayuganda bangi nnyo n'abakulembeze ab'enjawulo bavaayo ne babaako ebigambo bye baayogera. Era ono naye bwe waayitawo akabanga naye n'avaayo n'ayogera ku nsonga eno, naye ate ekitaanyiiza abantu okuva mu Bwakabaka obwa Buganda ne bamuteekako akazito, n'avaayo ate ne yeetonda. Nozaawo olunaku lw'eggulo program bwe mwagiwunzikidde si weewaawo ne mmala ne muwa experiences ez'enjawulo ku ngeri gye mwayisibwamu ekireka oba esayidi eyo. Ebyo byaliwo byaliyo ya mwezi gwa kusatu, naye still ebyo byonna byaliwo mu Gwokusatu, naye ng'ate mu Gwokuna twalina African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, era ng'eno lyerinnya eppya eryaweebwa munnange Long Peacekeeping Mission mu ggwanga erya Somalia. Kinajjukirwa eggye lya Uganda erya UPD oba eggye lya Uganda munnange be bamu ku abo abaagenda okubanga bateekawo emirembe mu ggwanga erya Somalia. Twagiyitanga AMISOM, right? Yali AMISOM. Naye kakati bagiwa erinnya eppya si bwe guli. Bwe tweyongerayo waliwo ensonga mu Eponga 5 leaders of the opposition oba abakulembeze abali ku ludda oluvuganya gavumenti oba oluwabula gavumenti olwa National Unity Platform bavaayo ate munnange ne baaccusinga eggye lya Uganda erya UPDF okubanga be bali emabega oba be baali emabega w'okutta abantu mu region eya Karamoja nga bakikola mu linnya ly'okuba nti balwanyisa ate abayeekera. Ebyo nno bye byali esayidi eyo, naye nga still mu mwezi gwe gumu Ogwokuna birthday run and celebrations are held for the first son. Munnange okutegeka amazaalibwa ga General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, awo nno ensonga we yatandikira, era nga ensonga eno nno yali nkulu nnyo. Abantu ab'enjawulo bavaayo ne bagyogerako nti ekyalinga okujaguza amazaalibwa ate kyamalirizanga ekifuuse platform ey'okunoonya akalulu n'okutuuka mu bannayuganda okuba nti abeebuuzako obajje okuvuganya ku kifo ekya ekya president w'eggwanga. So tugenda kuba nakyo munnange tukikubaganyako ebirowoozo. Kakati wano tugenda kuba tutambulira ku nsonga ey'ebyobufuzi. Ensonga nnyingi nnyo ezituuseewo mu ggwanga lino erya Uganda, politically, socially, economically n'ebirala bingi nnyo. So tugenda kuba tutandikira waneeno ku nsonga ya byabufuzi, because bwe tweyongerayo ebyaliwo ku nsonga ya Honorable Norbert Mao nabyo byali byabufuzi. So ngenda kuba ntandika ne Rogers Tulyahabwe. Politically 2022 olugendo lubadde lutya ku kibiina ekiri mu buyinza n'abaana abali ku opposition?
I think generally in my perspective I would say not so much really changed. The status quo is still what it is. We do not really have, I think we had some kind of ray of hope with the agreement that was signed between the DP President Norbert Mao and the NRM leader, Mr. the President, Tumusiime. A lot of people would think that had come as Honorable Norbert Mao had said, that now he's trying to put a way of a peaceful transition. He's trying to do things differently from all the other people, because he had said, if you realize, most of the people in the opposition had only relied on, we are removing a dictator, but that would also not exactly ensure a peaceful transition, but also there were no hopes because there were no process to that effect. Most of them had come to a conclusion that elections cannot get us to where we want to be. They cannot bring about a transition. But there was no other thing that we were seeing that was going on, or a process that was coming through for us to, see that there's something going on, that there's going to be some transition. So when Honorable Norbert Mao came through with the agreement, and when he afforded, it was actually a big issue at that time. If it had materialized, at least it gave a lot of people hope that there could be something coming through, maybe at last, because most people say you cannot trust President Museveni, given his history with most of the political players. But we had some bit of hope and thought maybe Mao is going to do something different. Maybe something could come out of this. Okay. Maybe the president also feels like it is time for him to, give a seat to someone else to try and push us a little ahead from what he has done so far. But as usual, even to be out, and when the president was asked to talk about that, he said transition was not one of the things they talked about. In fact, he does not know such thing as transition in their agreement. Okay. And it has since literally lost meaning, because I don't really see. And people since have castigated Honorable Norbert Mao for crossing over literally. If you cross, a whole president of a whole political party, I think one of the longest serving, and some of the, actually the strongest back then, a whole president to cross to another party, or at least most people are saying it that way. And it has since lost meaning, because I don't really see anything. He came, said maybe difference can be made from the inside, which has not happened since. He heads an institution of justice and constitutional affairs. Abductions have not stopped any time or any soon. We have not seen any. Yesterday
you talked about the issue of Kakwenza. And we are still seeing the same things happening.
Exactly, and he heads an institution that most people would have hope in. For the most part, people have said that Abantu people who are in the NRM are the ones who have kept a blind eye and deaf ears on the issues, because they beat their government. Now him, as a person who comes from another government, would expect that he would understand the plight of people and the everyday things that happen, but he has not done anything so far. So I think, in my opinion, it was the biggest highlight for the year, but it has since lost meaning. I don't think there's anything that's ever going to come out of it. That would be fair. That would be fair. Except for one thing. He has been in office for how long? About 5 months or so. Actually, more than 5 months. Yeah, about more than 5 months now. But also for someone gogendo kongero obudde, you would see that there's some process that is going on. The guy took office, we have not seen him talk about anything. He has not led any processes. He came and he said we want constitutional reforms, we want to change the system, the judicial system, we need to approach things from a fresh perspective. He has not put, not even a small meeting to convene at least justices and talk to them about processes that are happening. So honestly speaking, it would be fair to afford him more time. But we are not seeing any result. No, twamusubiramu kyatusuubiza. But he has not done anything as yet. I think it's fair to give him more time. But we need to have a foundation from which we can stand and say, maybe we should give him more time. Now, since he came, really, we have not seen anything yet. But for, it's fair. Let's give him time. Just
yamutaddeko erisejojo kuba ku nsonga z'abaseggirinya ne Ssewanyana si gwe baali bataddeko awo akazito nga bamugamba munnange baako kyokola bano babaka ba parliament baako kyokola nga gwe Minister wa Justice and Constitutional Affairs abakulu bano babeere nga bateeka
which he has not done.
Agenda mu maaso n'okuba nga ali mu
Minister.
And it is one of the things people believed him for. But either
because they just believed and they didn't know the mandate of the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. That's why bamujetekako emirimu egitali gije. Get.
But
that's
okay,
it
probably is not.
And to add on that one, these are the same people who are castigating him for having joined the NRM. Instead, they wanted him to stay in the opposition. Now, where you disagree with the decision of an individual who thinks that joining the NRM would actually give him an opportunity and a platform where he can be able to air out his views regarding to constitutionalism, having a legal mind and all that background, with his upbringing and the political status that he has as a person of Norbert Mao. And why do you now have to give him tasks to do on your behalf? And what have you done, you who are castigating him for having failed to do something on making sure that Honorable Ssewanyana and Ssegirinya are released from prison? So it is unfair.
They castigated him for crossing to NRM, right?
But he did not cross the NRM, he's still DP.
Exactly.
So why is he not helping
the President General, DP? Yes. And so he has not crossed the NRM, he has just joined the government like the rest of the people together. Are in the government.
That is
in different positions.
I have no problem with that. He's still president of the DP. So what they are castigating is actually wrong, if we come to that.
Because they judged him first for
so he decided
to
not to do anything on any particular
and
issue
their
because
judgments were baseless because that's not the mandate of
but he can try to influence certain things. He can, I think he has a place he holds, he can try to influence a few things. Not that he will make it happen.
But when you're trying to influence, there is where you can influence and your influence works and where it can fail. But so we'll give him time.
According to the people who hold positions in the country, boyogera ku nsonga y'oku influencing, don't you think nti mu bifo bino balimu nga mwebali mu bifo mwebali naye bwe kituuka ku kukola waliwo abantu batasobola kukola batasobola kutuuka?
Well, I think it depends on a number of things. One, some of them, like he said, we expect them to do things that are not their job description. Two, we also have a fact that we know that institutions are not independent. There are things you will just not do even if you
if you have the mandate.
Yeah, even if you have it, you will not do it. You could have your life at risk. So I think some of them, it is also true that some of them just don't work. Some of them are just there, they are dormant, they are not doing their roles. That also is there. Okay. But I think most of the critical ones has been that they are in offices that are critical, and that particular individuals have particular interests in those offices and the roles that they have to hold. And so it becomes quite challenging for them to effectively, execute their roles when there is some other person or another entity that is overlooking them, that is literally putting shorts and strings every
I'll give
now
an
and then.
example of the office of the IGG. Yali badde ayinako byakola ebirala bingi nnyo naye ate bwe yavaayo ku nsonga ya corruption wawulira omukulembeze w'eggwanga engeri gye yavaayo.
Exactly, and I am honestly speaking,
So
I
that
think
means
she
tetulina
is
ku
doing a
blaming
good
abantu
job.
bano tetulina ku blaming abantu bano nti tebakoze.
Some of them, other ones, we also need to face it. Other ones, particularly who are coming from the NRM party, are refusing to do what their offices are supposed to be doing because the description of their job roles also stand in the way of the principal or the works of the principal. So they decide, for the sake of my kawogo, I would rather, occupy office and take the titles and go home.
Okay, thank you so much. To you, Mr. Kato Tumusiime. Gwe mboozi ki ekutta mu babiri obwekituuka ku nsonga z'ebyobufuzi mu mwaka guno ogwa 2022 ku side ya ruling party ne ku side ya opposition?
Thank you so much. On my side, I think the best and the most eye-catching moment in the political scene was the impeachment of the commissioner, Honorable Zake, from his office, and the motion that was raised by a fellow opposition, who is currently on an independent ticket, Honorable bw'enguzi. And they were relating to an issue of computer misuse in that regard, of a tweet against the person of the speaker who had actually occupied office. She was the deputy speaker at the time, I guess.
Who?
Honorable Anita.
Honorable. She
When
was,
the-
because she was
when the
elected to that
tweets came
position
out.
in March.
Yes, yes.
Bamulonda mu March, yeah.
So when Honorable Zake made his tweets and the rest, I think out of anger, I cannot know why, it caused the whole spark in the house, and the House of Parliament has now turned into a room for fighting personal battles within, and that was a sparking point. And then we saw when she was elected, after the impeachment of Honorable Zake from being the commissioner, he also went in. He went to court to challenge the process of his impeachment and the rest. But at some point, and what made it more funny was that even the opposition members supported his impeachment, citing the issues that he was incompetent for that office, because most of them did not believe in his approach, his modus operandi. Most of them do not believe in his approach. How he approaches things, most of them see it in
Yagenda
a
just
different
kufolo ya
way.
parliament n'ayisaawo ensonga ye.
And the other thing was when Honorable Mongo was elected as the speaker, then we saw the hugging and we thought that would be a reconciliation between the two people, but which did not work out at the end of it all. Then the other insightful thing was about, of course, something that we can question and that I didn't see its value in the politics of this nation, was the leader of opposition, Honorable Mathias Mpuga, fronting the opposition, what was it called? The opposition agenda, legislative agenda. And it keeps me wondering on what was in that opposition agenda and how far has it gone? Have they worked on it? And we had him cry the other time when people were castigating him that he has even made the worst leader of opposition we have ever had in this country from the members of his own party, and citing the instances that he could not even stand in to help his commissioner, Honorable Zake, at the time of his impeachment.
Okay.
Because we thought he would have gathered his opposition and informed and briefed them maybe about the effect of the impeachment. And since the impeachment of Honorable Zake, we have not had any other commissioner from any UP to replace Honorable Zake. That's a space that is left. And from the duties and works that we expect from the Commission of Parliament, then it means we have something that is not filled, the gap that is hanging in between, that leaves the work of Parliament also to slow down because we are missing an effort of an individual. And I think that was done deliberately. Then later on we had the issues of Anita Mong and Magogo honorables. That marriage that caused some fracas at some time.
And then now we are seeing
Then the registrar tried to revoke the marriage and so many instances. And now we saw the Namuganza coming again. I think that is the character of Honorable Namuganza as an individual. Because I feel she believes in what she believes in. And she wants to stand for what she thinks it is right. Because this is not the first time Honorable Namuganza facing the Speaker of Parliament. We remember when Honorable Kadaga was still the Speaker. Honorable Namuganza stood up and she would be clear on issues she believed in. And I think that's a plus to her because she cannot sit down like the rest of the members of Parliament, fearing the impeachment issues and the rest. And most of them have decided to keep quiet. When we lost one of the judges of the Supreme Court, Justice Awed, recently, it was so funny as we were following the proceedings in Parliament. Some MPs were standing to make their first ever statements, maiden speech on the floor of Parliament, and what they could say was to say that the justice was a good man, he had his own family, and he paid the school fees. That's how funny our Parliament has been. And then something that I couldn't miss, and that's something that was good maybe for the politics of this nation to grow, was the by-elections. I would say the by-election in Soroti.
Okay.
That was an eye-catching one.
Before nga tetunabatuuka ku by-elections, is there anything you wanted to talk about our parliament? Nga tetunatuuka ku nsonga ya by-elections? Because njagala tuve ensonga ku nsonga nga tuvaayo lumu. Yes,
because why I wanted to talk about the by-elections was that it also reflects what we have in Parliament. Because you have seen key figures in the same house trying to make the whole system of elections of member of Parliament something that is hereditary. From the father to the son,
before
to the daughter, or yes. Because if you remember...
You know, at one time we had a 19-year-old member of Parliament.
You can imagine, and because of that.
Because I think it was
and I thought that was something that happened for a while.
From Democratic Party.
I think
It was a woman,
yes.
During the COVID-19 pandemic. So never
Musikiza Mwalawe, and because of that, and we have taken it as something that is so simple. And the rest of the people are not even concerned about talking about that. But now, when you create a precedent or when you create examples, you are giving excuses to the people that are in higher positions also to follow the same. Because you are giving them directions instead of believing and behaving like examples and leaders who believe in democracy and the free will of the people, not coming up to impose somebody on the people. Because when the party decides that we are fronting Rogers because he has his father or who was an MP had businesses he had not accomplished, and you ask which are those businesses that cannot be even done by any other individual from the community. That is a question that everybody should be asking these people. And we have seen the speaker, the deputy speaker coming at the funeral, and they have made such funerals as campaigning grounds for the daughters, the sons, or even the relatives of the MPs that we have lost. That is something that is demeaning our democracy. The free will of the people at some time,
but I don't think
is being undermined, because
Kato,
if you realize that
yes. I don't think chiri kubano bokaboka bali mu NRM. Chiri
ne opposition, yes.
Because they bagenda ku funerals oba ne waba ageze kabaga katono nnyo ensonga zitekamu ebyofuzi bwotunulira speeches bagenda maso n'okuwa.
Checho. But what I'm trying to make here is the issue of making the burial grounds of the MPs that we have lost campaigning grounds. Because at that time, I will give an example of Jacob Boranya's funeral. And you know the emotions that were attached to the death of the speaker at the time, and the words, the skeptical words that were within the people, the emotions were very high.
Yes.
And that's the time when these electorates are confused. I don't think they are convinced, but they are confused at that time. And they are driven by their emotions to fall for what the party has decided at the time. Because they are still grieving for the loss of their speaker, who was an Acholi and who was actually number 3 in the government, the hierarchy of the government. So losing that person, they felt that where the party had suggested, did it command that the son should actually replace him? What would you expect from electors? Would they have an independent mind of saying, no, let us look at a competent leader who will deliver what we believe in, or who knows what is taking place in the house as the duties of an MP? But it was out of emotions, and the people had the anger, and you saw the vote, how the vote came in.
And then nature for cha speaker
at the same time.
Speaker inakubanga
no kuveno, and we saw money changing hands. So
yes, please.
I think the thing of having a speaker come from a particular region, I would, as an individual, would have no problem with it.
As long as they are competent,
as long as they are
fit in the office of the speaker.
Because the truth is, it is not fair to have particular people coming from particular regions. It would eventually create imbalances. Because let's face it, everyone pulls in Gaza way.
But
you see?
But you see, that's where the problem comes in, Roger.
What I'm trying to say is this, that if you have, for example, let's say a president coming from the West, and you have a Speaker of Parliament coming from the West, and you have a Prime Minister coming from the West, and you have a Chief Justice coming from the West, what do you expect?
No.
There will be some kind of imbalance.
Yes, we believe that there will be a kind of an imbalance.
So I personally have no issue with considering regions in representation, especially
but Rogers,
of these government institutions.
When you support such an idea, it means that when we lost the speaker, we saw the people of Acholi saying that the speaker was an Acholi, he came from this region. And therefore the next speaker must be an Acholi and coming from the same region.
Yes.
Its impact will be that if we, for example, like we lost the Governor Bank of Uganda, we also heard the Bachiga saying that since they actually wanted the Acholi to be the speaker, we also want
another Mchiga
to be the governor. We shall get the deputy speaker, the same Banyakori will be claiming the same.
So that's where we shall get the vice president.
I think it's the virtue of the Muganda. So it means that the Baganda will also come and say that this has been our position. This should not be an issue of who holds what and where they come from. I think we should be following the competency.
It's what
the personality of the people.
I think what the most important thing is competency.
Yeah.
But I also think it should be in consideration that regions are
consideration should be put in here.
Because when
those are competitive positions, people put in their candidatures, and then the electorates decide on who takes the speakership position.
The thing is, most of these things are actually, because you'll see, like, the vice president is appointed, the prime minister
those are appointments, and at least appointments are different from
Chief Justice is appointed.
Okusinziira nze wenda wetulaga ku nsonga y'ebyobufuzi ebintu bigenda kufuuka kati byansikirana. Ono bw'avaawo ono yakitwala. Wenjogera tulina ensonga y'omukulembeze w'eggwanga abamu bagamba mutabani we yayinza omuddira mu bigere. Era waliwo abatandise dde okusapootinga General Muhoozi Kainerugaba okujja okwesimbawo ku kifo ky'obwa president. Ate abalala bagamba ono asigale ku ki? Asigale ku main. So kati ndabanga ebyobufuzi bwe tulaga mu maaso okuva wano we tuli nti biri just kuba n'ababaka gye tulaga maaso ensonga egenda kukulira ddala nti ono bw'abanga avudde mu kifo oli ayagalira ddala yabakola ki bakiteekemu relative we oba omwana oba omuntu yenna amwinako oluganda. So
and because he will also get an excuse if we lose MPs and their replacements are their sons or daughters, what about the president? And it will hold waters, you know.
That means
argument.
These
are precedents that we should fight from the word go and say, don't front the sons of the MPs if they are incompetent to be in the positions. If they are interested in replacing their fathers or mothers, let them compete like any other person who is competing for a position. But that is not It shouldn't be done on funerals when people's anger are high, and your influence actually influences the result of the elections.
Okay.
Because the president will also say, we lost so and so, he was replaced by the daughter or the son. The other one, and the other one, why not me? Then the son will also have a free will, a free right to the seat of the president.
Still in this year, tubadde ne by-elections eziwererako ddala, tubadde ne sorority, nno eyaleetera munnakibiina kya FDC Moses Atano okubanga ekifo kye munnange omuna NRM akitwala, twalina Omoro, twalina Busongola South, naye nga still by-elections zino zibaddewo, naye emivuyo egyetobeseemu oba egyali mu bululu buno bonna munnange embeera teyatambula bulungi nnyo eri banna opposition, because by-elections zino bwe zaabeerawo NRM yavaayo nga obuwanguzi yebwetise. Kakati Rogers, nzizeewo, is there anything opposition missed eyagireetera okuba nti losing in all these by-elections? Because wotunulira the one of sorority, was it Sorority East?
Yeah,
Sorority East. Atan Moses was FDC, he was opposition. But then the person who won, yaliwa NRM. Is there anything that opposition missed ekyagyeetera okuba nga losing in all these by-elections?
Well, there's one big factor, which we all know, is that there was, buying of elections. I have a friend who works with AGFIM. You know AGFIM, that organization that does election monitoring. Yes, they actually do election monitoring. The day that they were doing the elections for Sorority East, like the following day, in the night before that day, I was talking to one of those guys who are on the ground and doing the monitoring, and there were ferries, like lorries, ferrying people from the neighboring districts to go and vote in the Sorority East, and obviously you can imagine how that influences the outcome of all that. But also it is to the effect that the ruling party has relatively so much money, it uses so much money in politics. And so it was easy to also buy off voters. It has happened before. It's not something that goes out of the blue. And if we are being honest, I think the opposition put up a very good fight in especially Sorority East, because we even had, I think, Nyewete there, the president of the NUP. We had Dr. President was there. The president of FDC, Patrick Oboya-Moriat, was also there. I think there was so much concerted effort in that region that it was literally close to, it was very hard for the NRM to win that
it wasn't
but it did. So there's just a lot of, I'm not saying anything out of fact because I wasn't on the ground, but I suspect a number of things, except for one thing that I know for a fact, that they brought people from the neighboring districts to vote. That I know for a fact. So, but
oba baali basenguka nga badda mu bitundu ebirala ne babakomya.
Even if you're 10 people in the constituency, we have 2 people to decide. 6 people supposed to
baali basenguka nga yava mu Lukuli n'agenda e Nansana.
Abeere Nansana era akaluluke akakubira e Nansana.
Ate kakibamukomyawo gyali waliyo constituency, wali abakulembeze, anti yasengayo.
Ndala naye nga yewandiisize n'alondera eno.
Ate akomawo eno gye yava.
Tugeze oli yewandiisa ng'alondera Makindye West.
But when they are doing those elections, they usually have like MPs, they have local leaders, LC1s, LC2 parish leaders, and they can identify that this person is a resident in our constituency and they are eligible to vote in a particular area. Okay. So you cannot come from Nansana and come vote in Makindye because you lived there once upon a time. It cannot happen that way. If that happens, the person who brought you actually was doing something wrong. You're not supposed to have voted this side, which is what happened in Sorority East. So I think the opposition has won, particularly in that election, did not miss anything. I think they did their job.
They did their job
perfectly well, yes. But because of the plays and tricks that the other party put up, they were able to influence what would be the outcomes of the elections, and like that, a gentleman of the FDC lost it, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Rogers. To you, Mr. Kato, I'm still posing the same question to you. Is there anything that opposition missed during these by-elections? Nekyetera okuba nti their opponent ebifo bino byonna yabiwangula?
To be specific on the Sorot East by-election, opposition did not miss anything. Like it put its all fight for one person and one candidate, except ANT that fronted the candidate in the same election. But the rest, FDC and NUP, they reached a consensus and they agreed that the candidate of FDC who had the position at the time had strong support in the constituency, and they all fronted him. And to say in by-elections, I think the NRM and the government has all its combined support and effort for one candidate, unlike in the general elections where everybody is scattered in their own. Because we saw from the leadership of NRM itself and its headquarters, were all present on ground, including the Prime Minister, the people in government, the ministers, they were... Even
the Vice President was there at some point.
They were all in Soroti East to make sure that their candidate wins.
Including the President was
there. Including the President himself.
Akalukalimu ebbugu mulingi nnyo.
Ebbugu lyali lingi, and olw'okuba nti amaanyi ga NRM gonna n'abali mu government baali bagagasse wamu. It was so hard for the opposition because we had the army on the side of these people. Kubanga buli minister wabeera, buli prime minister, most of these people in the army, president, you know the security that is always present on ground. And you know how our village people, are scared of seeing the armed people and the rest. And we also had the incidences. But to say, I think the only error if the opposition people made was creating the blame game on the side of the NRM. And I remember most of the people from the NUP were claiming that in such by-elections, we see government vehicles being used in the elections, which is true, they use them, and something that is wrong. Because we saw so many people, including the Prime Minister, driving her convoy in the character of a Prime Minister to go and canvass votes for a specific member of Parliament who belongs to a political party. Because I believe at that position, a Prime Minister is serving the entire Ugandans, regardless of which political party you support. That is a position that is a public office. So we believe that if her interest was in supporting a candidate of NRM, she would have used private means to go and actually private resources, her personal resources, to go and canvass votes for a certain member of Parliament, if that's where their interests are. But when you blame the government for using the government resources and government vehicles in a by-election to support their candidate, and we see the leader of opposition also driving his vehicle of the office of the leader of opposition with the convoy and the rest also going to canvass votes for their MP, then you're being unfair to yourself. Like I would always say, if you want people to believe in what you're doing, act as a first example. Park that vehicle, because I believe that the leader of opposition has his own personal vehicles. Use that vehicle. Then it will raise concerns from the public, even the election observers, to point on the government that still uses the government vehicles and government resources while canvassing votes for a specific member of Parliament that belongs to a specific political party. Because when they are claiming that twalabe motoka za maje, twalabe motoka za government, za state houses zonna nga zinoonya kalulu kaani ka Soroti East.
Ariko muna NRM.
You get, but you also saw the vehicle of the leader of opposition moving around, carrying people, ferrying people, also canvassing votes. We should be realistic to one another, and what you think should be done to you, you also do it to your friend. We balance the equation.
Tunatera ogenda mu kuwummulamuko naye still ku nsonga y'emu ey'akalulu twalaba opposition parties nga basalawo nga bateeka omukono ku kiwandiiko ekyokuba nti bakolaganira wamu mu biseera ate ebyokulonda. Munnange twalaba FDC National Unity Platform PPP ne tulaba Jema munnange nga bateeka omukono still ku kiwandiiko kino nga bagamba munnaye mu biseera ebyakalulu tugendanga kuba tukolaganira wamu era ndowooza kino kyeyoleka mu by elections zino ate ezaaliwo. So tugenda kusooka tuwummulemu katono nnyo. Bwe tukomawo might drive egenda kubanga egenda mu maaso. Tugenda kuba tuyongera okubanga tukuba tooci mu nsonga ez'enjawulo ezikoze amawulire mu mwaka ogwa 2022. So katuwummulemu katono nnyo tukomawo.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besuje.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Kuli kayenyo mukuumulamu okwo okyagenda maaso n'okulaba program The Mighty Drive mutusonyiwe muko olwakaakayiseemu naye eddakiika ziri 19 ze zaakayita ku ssaawa 2 ez'amakya g'olunaku luno olwaleero. Tukyagenda maaso n'okuba nga ate tukuweereza okutuukira ddala ku ssaawa 3 ez'amakya ag'olunaku luno olwaleero. Olunaku lwakuna kakati ennaku z'omwezi zo ziri 29 tuli mwezi ogwa Desemba oba Ntenvu omwaka 2022. Tugenda maaso n'okuba tooci mu mwaka gwa 2022 nga bwe gubadde. Ensonga nnyingi nnyo ezibaddewo gwe guno omwaka we tulabiddeko bannayuganda munaye nga bacacyanca olw'omuntu okuva mu bulamu bw'ensi eno n'ebirala bingi nnyo. Tubaddewo n'ensonga ate eza Uganda Airlines. Ezo ensonga nazo zaali ensonga nkulu nnyo. Tubaddewo n'ensonga eya ECOP munnange ensonga eno nayo tulabyeko abeekalakaasa bangi nnyo. Opposition nabo bavuddeyo ne bajoogerako bingi nnyo ebyayogerwa ku nsonga eno naye ng'ate EU Parliament yavaayo nayo neetuwa go ahead okugenda mu maaso n'okusima amafuta. Still mu mwaka guno munnange wetwalabira retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye munnange nga naye alonkinga ng'alonkinga okwekalakaasa munnange ku nsonga y'ebbeeyi y'ebintu, era still mu mwaka guno wetulabiddeko okwekalakaasa okw'abasomesa, tulabyeko okwekalakaasa kw'abasawo. Ensonga nnyingi nnyo tuyinza obutasobola kuzitaanyaako oba kuzoogerako kuzimalayo, naye nga zonna zibaddewo. Tubaddewo n'ensonga y'ekirwadde kino ekya Ebola n'ebirala bingi nnyo ebigwate mu ttuluba eryo oba ebikoze amawulire mu mwaka guno ogwa 2022. Nalabako omukulu omu gwe baali baagala ave mu buyinza olw'ensonga nti atuusizza emyaka gy'okuwummula, naye ate akyagenda mu maaso n'okuba ng'akola. Omukulu we Rogers yasinga okumutegeera era ensonga eyo yasinga okuba ng'agimanyi nti ono bamunaye bamulemerako nnyo asobole okuba nga awummula olw'ensonga nti akuliridde mu myaka, atuuse ku myaka egy'okuwummula era nga bamusaba awummule. So n'ebirala bingi nnyo, naye engeri gye tuvudde ku nsonga ate ey'ebyobufuzi, njagadde tukooneko katono nnyo ku nsonga y'ebyenfuna mu ggwanga lino erya Uganda. Ebadde ensonga nkulu nnyo mu mwaka guno ogwa 2022. Tulabyeko ensonga y'okwewola wano nawali. Munnange nalabako Minisita Matilda Kasaija ng'agamba nti ensimbi ezitambuza eggwanga munnange ate tetukyazirina, tezikyaliwo. So tugende mu maaso n'okuba nga twewola ate tusobole okuba nga tutambuza eggwanga oba eggwanga tulitwala mu maaso. Ngenda kuba ntandikira wuwo Mukulu Rogers Tulyahabwe. Ng'eggwanga kiki kye twetaaga okuba nga tukola okuzzaawo okutereeza ebyenfuna byaffe eby'eggwanga, because omwaka 2022 ekonomi yonna omukulembeze w'eggwanga yagiggulawo okusobola okuba nti abantu beetaayo, abantu bakola bye balina okuba nga bakola. Kakati kiki kye twetaaga okuba nga tukola? However much tutunuulidde gavumenti, naye ffe nga bannayuganda
as individuals
okuyambako gavumenti.
You see, what we must do as people is generally influenced by what the government does for us, because I would say that maybe we would need to be a little more competitive, adapt to competitiveness in the era, because now we live in a global community and everything is literally by the global standard, and the competitiveness of our market is only as far as also our neighbors are doing. So, but that also is influenced by the politics, how policies are streamlined, how things are put in place to make sure that we are working towards that. If you have a Minister of Finance who says, look, I'll even borrow up to 100% and I don't mind, I don't know where that leaves the rest of us, because the more he borrows, the more things and costs go upwards, and the more the rest of us are affected. So even if we have to compete as individuals, we are stifled by the taxes that are imposed on us to be able to pay back those debts.
Dr. Kizza Besigye bwe yali mu kwekalakaasa wano mu kibuga Kampala, omulanga yasinga gukubira bannayuganda okuvaayo nabo okubaako eddoboozi lye bagattako.
The Dobozi, the Honorable Dr. Kizza Besigye, what he does is good, because at the end of the day, change is only affected by all the people altogether. But now the economic change, imposing which we cannot do without. We cannot live without food. We cannot live without utensils and essentials of life.
Okay.
So that is quite hard. So as an individual, still, the people need to understand that they have a role to play. Our government were to retire the Paris development models and all those poverty alleviation programs. A lot of people are actually putting their attention to that to be able to change them, but that cannot bring about sustainable, livelihood. People have to work themselves, but their working has to be informed by the plans and policies that these people have put in place. I think what the point we have missed mostly as a country is that we have become so easily caught up by the pettiness. We are easily distracted by the petty and the trivial and scoring cheap political points that we have made decisions that are not important to the country as one. I think it is important as an individual, the president himself, the leadership, and the people in the Ministry of Finance. The people can do, but there's just as much they can do. Most of what they have to do has to be influenced by the policies that are put in place. For example, the country loses $2 trillion every year. No, trillion shillings, not dollars. 2 trillion shillings every year to illicit financial flows. Those are money laundering, money counterfeiting, and that kind of stuff. But the government has not put in place policies to make sure that those things are counted. Or even when the policies are there, they're not implemented. When we lose over 10 trillion every, I think, a year to corruption. When the IGG came out to speak about that, we had the president say, you need to leave my people alone. As long as they keep their money, their loot around here, that is okay. So, and that affects the rest of us, because if they keep their loot here, it is only them who are benefiting from the loot. The rest of us are affected by that. And so the more we have money going to spending agendas that are not initially intended for them, it means there are going to be mismatches and gaps in service delivery, and that affects the common person. Now, the common person in that instance has nothing to do as an individual, on an individual basis. Because in Ewemberanga, I run a merchandise shop. It is going to be, the prices I set for the things I sell are going to be informed by how much taxes are imposed on me when I'm getting these things. So I cannot buy something at 10,000 and sell it at 5.
Ekitongole kiwoza ky'omusolo baali bagenda okusoma budget ya omwaka gw'ebyensimbi 2022-2023 batutegeeza tebasobodde kubanga bawoza emisolo egiwerako era nga bw'otunuulira ssente ze baali bafuna mu misolo zaali zikendedde olw'ensonga nti munnange bannayuganda oba tebajjumbidde kuwa misolo.
No, people ran out of business. There was nothing to pay. People ran out of business.
If they have no earning and
business is collapsed, there is no income.
So that means as a country tulina okugenda mu maaso n'okwewola, because bwe tubanga bwe twali badde tufuna ssente zitambuza eggwanga mu misolo, abantu tebakyawa misolo, kakati that means tulina genda mu kwewola.
That I have no problem with borrowing, by the way. Only as far as our borrowing is building sustainability. Now the problem is we are in the perpetual borrowing. Literally every financial year we have to borrow to sustain our budget, financial budget.
Actually borrow to pay.
We are only servicing, we are not even paying back.
Servicing by the way.
Yeah, so we keep borrowing every financial year. And if it would be okay if we borrowed and built some kind of sustainability. To know that if we have borrowed, for example, $20 trillion, maybe, this year, we are making sure that maybe the next financial year we are borrowing less than that, because this one will build a base and foundation for us to have some bit of foundation to sustain ourselves. Yeah. So we go borrowing less and less, and eventually we will not need it. Because the problem is, the more we borrow, the more we'll have to pay back. Ghana, by the way, is now officially bankrupt because of borrowing. And they said they are going to default on every other debt they have from the foreign investors and the banks. They are bankrupt. And that is where we are coming, by the way. And the problem is, if you are declared bankrupt, there are chances that even the people who have been borrowing are not going to borrow anymore. So what happens then?
They will actually come and seize some of your
assets, yes,
so that they can finance their loans.
Their loans, exactly. Borrowing. So I think as the people can do, but there's just so much they can do. The government has especially the biggest role in what this has to be. In my opinion, I think we need to streamline our priorities, look at our administrative spending. We spend literally our budget, our internal revenue collection, only goes into recurring expenditures and debt servicing. Actually, 97% of our local revenue collected every financial year goes to debt reservicing and recurrent expenditures, leaving only 3% to growth agendas, which you can imagine how that is. And there's definitely no growth in that respect. So I think as a country we need to have our priorities straight. We need to stop this thing of creating districts every now and then, because it creates more administrative costs.
Ensonga ya service delivery okubanga etuuka bulungi ku bantu.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you. Kenya is bigger than Uganda, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
Much more.
Kenya has less MPs. It has less ministers. It has very less cabinet. But doesn't it have more service delivered to the people than Uganda that has more?
Anti kakati wano buli omu yeetaaga okuwulira nti ali represented.
Buli omu teyeetaaga kuwulira. We need to get them services that they need.
Because n'abakadde baali basaba ministry nti nabo beetaaga okubeera ne representative ategeera ensonga zaabwe.
Kati tugambe nti every person who leads a household should also go to parliament because they need their interests catered for. Because bw'ogamba nti buli omu ayagala awulire nga afiiriddwako kitegeeza every one of us should be in parliament to make sure that we fend for our
because bwekiba nti abavubuka balina ba representatives.
Nti abakadde nabo tebabawa ba MP.
N'abakadde
I don't mind about those actually special groups. A youth can have a representative, old people, elderly can have their representative. The problem I have is creating new constituencies. That creates new sub-counties, creates new district, the whole district.
The
whole local government, and that is a whole spending. You have been seeing in this very year that we are going to conclude, local governments coming and saying we cannot afford to pay salaries for these people.
Is they
defaulting on
to
some of those
support
things.
the same local governments created.
So we need to look into how much of that is going, but also, in my own opinion, I think we could also try and see if a kind of federal system can work for us, where we have provincial kind of sub-governments. We have governors running, so that way every region can try to levy its own taxes or fund its own services in that particular region. Okay. If you have a governorship, a province with a governor, it has some kind of a mini government that can levy taxes and then make sure that it runs its own. So maybe it reduces on the spending, administrative spending at the central government, in my opinion. But generally speaking, I think the most problem has been that we have the administration is so costly, and that has meant that all the money that would have gone to service delivery goes into servicing and recurrent expenditures, and we have no room to grow.
But then we still have people who are striking. We had teachers striking. I think it was I think around June. Abasomesa aba arts bwe bavayo kwekalakasa tuvudde awo tulabyeko ba medical personnel nabo bavayo kwekalakasa still ya nsonga za misaala naye ng'eggwanga naffe otulaba tetunnayimirira bulungi.
Yeah, but well, they are giving services. It's only fair that if I am working, you must pay me. What they were doing was right as far as their roles are concerned. They were employed. What we are saying is stop employing so much, you know, people creating more administrations that need more employees because you do not have the money to pay them.
Okay.
If you have a district, for example, like Bushenyi, which I think has since been cut into some other constituencies, if the origin of Bushenyi we had concentrated on those issues that the district had, we would still you know, make sure that service delivery is ensured. Yeah, but we also we all agree that the creation of new districts is not because of service delivery. It is because we want to favor a particular
side of government and create jobs for a few people who will be councillors.
So it's not even about service delivery or bringing them closer to the people or even representation. It is about
because the problem that affects us as people is lack of services. And if you bring services to us, why would we even quarrel on having a district? What would be helping us? We only need services, but we don't need creation.
We don't need administration,
leadership, and the rest. No.
We don't need administrations.
We need services on the ground. Reach the ground, create services, make them near to the people, and nobody will ask for it.
No one will ask for. In fact, I don't think anyone has asked for any constituency.
A few have asked. Those who want to be MPs and chairman have asked.
Because they also know the constituency will come because some particular individual is interested in
this is interested, but that's not the problem that is affecting us.
Thank you so much, Mukulu Rogers. Mukulu Kato. Ffe tutamanyi ku budgetinga bulungi ssente zino okuba nti zino zirina kukola kino zino zirina kukola kiri ekiviiriddeko okubanga eggwanga tutuuka naffe ne tubeera nga tetulinaawo na ssente zitutambuza oba zituyimirizaawo?
Kiyinza okuba ekituufu in one way or the other. But I want to say that the problem we are having as a country is we have failed to streamline and see where our priorities fall as a country. We have failed to prioritize where is our effort needed and what should we start with and what should we end with. Because when you consider the money that we borrow and the money that is invested in productive infrastructure, productive services is well much lesser than the money that is borrowed to pay tax salaries of the MPs, to buy for them vehicles, to buy for them tablets, and to even bring people to teach them how to use the same tablets. You get? That's why I've failed as a country to prioritize where our need is. We have always talked about having agriculture. Since I was a young boy, agriculture
is the backbone of this country.
But we have not had the government coming up to prioritize the agriculture that it is proud of. For example, see how best can we improve our agriculture so that it can be productive in the country. First of all, we solve the problem of food insecurity in a local level. After solving the problem of food insecurity, then we create a surplus that can be put on market and sold. When we sell and export, then we shall be having an inflow of income, and that is useful to the country and the development of our government. The same money will be used in making services reach near the common man who needs them. But the problem is the borrowing that we even get comes with a high interest rate. Which interest rate we are not going to use that money in development or in putting up infrastructures that will help development, that will yield and get maybe some source of income that will be used to pay the money in about 4 or 5 years. But we shall borrow the money will be kept, and we shall end the financial year without using the money that we borrowed last year. What will happen to that money? It is that the money will be taken and swindled by individuals at a personal level. Remember, we had a loan that has an interest. The money has not been used for what it was procured to be used. That is the lack of prioritizing in the government officials. Because I believe that the economists we have in this country would be knowledgeable about what the problems they are facing as a country when we talk about the economy of the country. This is a country that has been, actually the whole world has been in a crisis of COVID-19 that hit us for 2 years. People were home, they were not working. That means there was literally no earnings at all. The impact such lockdowns caused to us and so many. We had so many people who had businesses who could fend for their families, lose everything they had. We had people who had loans and the banks came and took on their assets, and that's how they lost. That problem reaches to the people, not only the owners, but it goes back to even the people who sweeps the same buildings that they own, because that's their source of income and employment. When the lockdowns were lifted and the economy was fully open, the government did not take an initiative to help and come up with incentives maybe to help and support the people that have not been working for 2 years so that they can be able to come back into business, because those were the sources of the taxes for the country. And the same taxes were used in budgeting for the country so that the country could actually borrow less, because it's income that is in the country, the local income that is collected would support the money that they would borrow so that the borrowing would be less. But we did not understand the problem where we lost it at the economic level, because we did not understand how we fell short of the money that we collect at the local level through taxes. We did not understand where and how the economy tried to hit us, because following the crisis that came up that made everything hike, the prices, we started now creating excuses of the Ukraine-Russian war. and we did not understand where the problem came in. Because if we had understood that the problems were foreign, then we could have provided solutions that are fitting the foreign policy of how our economy can be uplifted. If we understood that the problem was at a local level and internal, then the solutions created would be internal. And how would we create an internal solution to help the problem of the economy? Then we could subsidize on the prices of a few basics. For example, if the country produces, I would give an example of wheat or maize, then the prices of maize would be subsidized so that the people can be able to get what to eat at a cheaper cost, so that they can get the energy, and the same energy could be used in production at a higher level, so that the country can grow its economy at a local level. But now the problem we are citing was the Ukraine-Russian war. But we are saying, look, then let us also hike the prices of the commodities in Uganda. Are we solving the problem? Because the problem was foreign, but the solutions created were local and internal. That's where we have lost it as a country. And plus, on different projects that we have had the government go to borrow, we have had the so-called brokers and the kickbacks at the end of it all. Because if you read that, the statistics of how much we borrow and how much reaches in the country, leave alone reaching in the country after being borrowed, and how much goes to the project. How much goes to the project? You can be shocked that the money that is borrowed, you can find even three quarters of it as the money going to the budget, or even not even a half. Sometimes it's even a half that goes to the project that it was meant to do, and the rest is swindled by the individuals, the brokers, the people who actually borrow us also need the kickback, and that's where the problem is. So the prioritization of what we need as a country has messed everything in the economic status of this country.
Yeah, still mu mwaka gwe gumu wetulabidde ensonga z'okwekalakaasa okw'abasomesa wamu n'abasawo, nsonga za misaala ne ba local government leaders. Naye ate ng'eggwanga mugenze ne mukyogerako wano nti ensonga y'ebyenfuna tetuyimiridde bulungi. Ate mukulu Rogers ye n'agamba nti ssente ezisaasaanyizibwa mu kusasula emisaala gy'abakozi ba gavumenti nazo nnyingi nnyo. Abamu beetaaga okuba nga bakendeezebwako, so nabano babakendeezeeko ensonga y'emisaala nayo tugiveeko.
Tugamba on cutting the cost of administration, then we are not talking about the administration of services, the people who are service providers like the teachers and the health workers. But look at the administrators we have like the MPs, for example. Do we need the full house of 549 MPs as a country, Uganda? You saw
we have 146 districts.
You saw the Minister of Internal Affairs actually complain that instead let us cut the size of Parliament and have the police officers so that we can create
still nabo bw'otunuulira embeera gye babeeramu
and people can create peace. And when you talk about that one, I want you to compare now. How much does a primary teacher earn? For example, roughly. It's even below 600,000. They take home money. Below. It's not 460, I guess. And how much does an MP earn? How much does an RDC earn? And the deputy RDC, and how much does the chairman LC5 earn, and the rest? So we are just creating excuses of having so many teachers, which we need as a country, because we need to boost our education systems. We need to boost our health systems. When the prices of commodities increase and you are not increasing the salaries of these teachers, these health workers, because their roles are not so open so that they can be able to venture into other businesses. For example, a teacher, a medical, a health worker, a doctor, or a nurse is required to work from Monday, not even to, let me say, Friday or Saturday. For the sake of teachers, Monday to Friday, will they get any other opportunity or time to invest into a small business? most of their time is in a classroom and
naye ate
teaching
abalala
and
era
trying to bring
tulabireko
out people.
abagezezaako obuside businesses agendeddeyo ddala ogw'obusomesa
But that's where we shall go. Because if a person, and I think it was when COVID came in, most of the teachers left their teaching jobs and opted to be border riders. And if we cannot support the systems, for example, at the level of a teacher, a primary teacher, that we need, and we leave them to also see and venture into greener pastures outside, then we shall reach a point where we have no teachers in the country. And then looking at even the state of our education systems in Uganda, what will happen when we don't have even a few that we have as teachers in the country? Then we are messing up the whole system.
But
the administration costs should be...
aba arts baagala okuba nti nabo omusaala gwabwe gulinnyisibwa nga bwe baayongeza ogw'aba science teachers, then nabo aba arts nabo nga batunulwamu.
Ekyo kyali kituufu, and I thought they would actually go to court and sue the government for discriminating them, because it is not a crime that you are a teacher who teaches art. At the end of it all, we are all teachers. Me, I have not seen somebody writing an application letter and they say science teacher, art teacher. No, the profession is always a techer.
I thought or specifying
that was discrimination. That was discrimination at the highest level, but maybe they felt comfortable where they are. But it was discriminatory on the side of the arts teachers, because they are all teachers. They all go through the same school, take the same years in school, teach for the same hours, teach the same people. And why do you discriminate me? Zompabili, Rogers or Mwatan? No. Roger. That's my opinion. I did not buy that.
Still opinion. On the same issue of teachers, about arts and our sciences.
You see, I was actually trying to compute how much money we spend on an MP.
MP, yeah.
Only one MP. Ordinarily, actually, the salaries of our MPs are much higher than most of the European countries' MPs, except I think Germany, Austria, and Italy, because when they're around 10,000. Ours is 35 million, which is equivalent to 8,800 euros. That is a single month.
Every month.
Every month, 35 million. So, and
I know the constituencies.
What constituencies on the side?
Okutwauka mu constituency ye.
So you can imagine 8,000 euros every single month times a year. Yeah. In fact, I'll do the mathematics. I am going to do the mathematics for you. I am going to calculate what we spend in a single year.
Yeah,
and then
on one MP.
On one MP, just one. We have 529 of them.
29.
And then you will see it was 8,800. Yeah? That is a single month. Times 12.
Yeah.
That is 105,600 euros. That is a single year. That is a single year. No, that is for salary.
That is salary for one MP.
Yes.
For a single year.
For a single year.
And when an MP is elected, they give them 200 million Uganda shillings. Which is equivalent to
205 million shillings.
Okay, let's go with 200, which is equivalent to about 50,000 euros. So on average, in the first year of their constituency, every single MP will spend over 150,000 euros. In a single year. Now imagine for the 5 years, how much money is that? And how much money do we earn as a
That is the administration we are talking about.
That is the administration. And that is only on MPs. We have not gone to any
ministers.
We have not talked about ministers. We have not talked about the spending of the state house.
And talk about the local council.
But I remember
we have not talked about all of that.
We had a discussion here ku nsonga y'abasomesa. Salary wabwe gwe bafuna nti ali wansi nnyo okusinziira n'emirimu gye bakola, and then ababaka ba parliament ali waggulu nnyo still yana okusinziira emirimu gye bakola. Ngolaba ddala nti tekibalansinga bulungi. Omwami omu yakomentinga n'agamba ababaka ba parliament basobola kufuna musaala gwe gumu n'abasomesa. Naye nga nze my argument was nti at least newankubadde bw'abanga omubaka wa parliament afuna obukadde 35, wakiri omusomesa afune 5, then medical personnel at least afune nga 10.
No, I don't agree. I will give my reasons why. You see, the thing is not that we must increase that much for the teachers and doctors.
Anti kakati
It is that these
okubalansinga
ones-
omubaka oli
See, the thing
because
is not about-
omusomesa ajja kugamba nze nsomesa omubaka wa parliament, nze nsomesa akola atya, nze nsomesa akola atya, nga naye argument
I am
yawo.
going to ask you, you eat meat, right?
Yes, I do.
You do. Let's say you eat meat on a single day. I am a herdsman. I rear the cow that you eat every single day. Should I say I am selling my cow 5 million because everyone...
Kisinziira gitunze sente mmeka.
No, anti bw'oba ogamba nti twagala kwenkanya.
Rogers, tekijja kukola wano.
So
You
in
not
my
work in this
opinion,
exam.
okay, let's leave that aside. Let's leave that aside. What I'm trying to say is that the issue is not about balancing. The thing is MPs are overpaid.
Yes, that's a fact.
So instead of even increasing these other ones, because the reason actually why, I think one of the reasons why they're even demonstrating is because the rest are getting so much, and for them they're getting little.
And
So that could be one of the
prices
reasons.
of commodities are hiking.
Aha.
Is affecting
But their income-
yes.
What-
Their salary doesn't
cannot
change.
sustain
It's
them.
static.
It doesn't
Static.
change. So I think we must reduce on the salaries of some of the civil servants, because they're all civil servants anyway. We reduce from 35 million at least to like 15. I think 15 is reasonable for a single year. But also now that also comes with a whole system, because you know how politics has been monetized. For one to run for an MP, they will spend almost like, I don't know, 100 million or something.
Now, I think you need around 800 million.
You see, to win an election. So
Kati
Participate-
obala the central region,
Participate so
then
that you are visible and everybody is
So-
talking
so-
about
so
you
now
as a
that-
candidate.
So it goes to a whole system. One, we need to make sure that we check the system of monetization of politics. That will determine how much money the MPs earn. Because let me tell you, if it was that they are spending 800 million and they are getting 10 million, we would have very less people running for MPs.
But we shall have patriotic people and people who have sense to add to
Or
our
not
politics and our
at all,
leadership.
because I cannot spend 800 million because I am patriotic to get 15 million. That is if I'm being
But
if
what
I'm
makes you
being
spend
honest.
800
Okay.
millions is...
Kakati ebintu tubitwale nti ebintu bino tugenda oli agenda kufuna mulimu bw'afuuka omubaka wa parliament alina kitwalanga mulimu oba alina butwalanga buweereza.
If they are spending that much to go to that office, trust me, even if it was you.
But
or me,
Rogers,
if I sold my farm to run for an office and I won, if we are being honest, even you would even first want to have your farm back,
But Rogers,
and then you can
So
do
that
other
means
things.
But Rogers,
So the problem is more than an individual. It's not about even patriotism.
But Rogers, you are coming in to serve the constituency.
Yes.
You are coming in to serve in the constituency.
I agree.
As a leader, as an
Anti
MP.
Okukubu
What
Kalunga
makes you
bagenda
invest in
weereza
800 million?
Exactly. So what I am saying is
Are you
not
going to offer the services or you are taking it as a job so that you can be able to pay
you
back
have
yourself?
misquoted what I am trying to say. What I am saying is this. The problem, the people, it is true that when people come to offices, they do other things other than service delivery.
Yes.
But do you know the cause of that? Do you know why that comes about? It is because the system is so expensive that for one to become a leader, they must pay so
Because
much.
we have now grown a culture of making such kind of positions, elective positions, as a source of job to so many. So that's why they have to invest in, so that they can be elected and go in those offices and they can use the positions
ajja
of
kutunda
member of
ekibanja kyewaabwe ajja kukola ki?
and do all the illicit finances and do all whatever they want to do so that they can regain back their money.
For us to check.
And you have messed up the
for-
whole
for us-
idea of having a representative, a leader.
I agree with you, Kato.
Yesterday you gave
I agree with
why
you.
you get the kuchokuba nti a leader has to be exemplary.
I agree with Kato. But Kato is not addressing the source of the problem. The source of the problem is not that I am not patriotic. Even my patriotism is set by the system that is there. You will go to other countries, even if, let's use an example of the prime in the US. An individual, you as one, your actions and your practices are informed by the laws of the local government or an area you come from, or the country as a whole.
Yes.
So how much you spend in elections, how much you give as service delivery is informed by how much the system has set the standard for that. Here, we have it open. If you're contesting, do whatever you must, as long as you win.
That's
You understand?
Rogers,
So
Rogers.
it is true that people,
And
when
that-
people come to offices, they do not do
And that
service
has,
delivery.
So that means-
that has
But
created,
that only has to be
Rogers,
solved by
that
checking
has
the
created a
system.
pool of so many leaders who don't even know what they are meant to do.
Exactly,
In Parliament.
because people are taking advantage of it.
Because
if I have
Parliament
money,
has always,
I can take advantage
Parliament
of
has
it.
always provided what they call the scorecard at the end of, I think, every year. The scorecard. And they say, you will see the number of MPs that have 0 times that they stood to speak a sense. And they're only waiting for cameras in the corridors. Those are few even. Some don't even wait for the cameras at corridors. They want to sit and they will be praying.
I
Is
sit
it
for
for
the-
Sortaya on their tabs? My friend.
anti kati
see,
omubaka
the only issue
wa
comes
parliament
in that-
ajja okusobola okuyimirira ku fulo ya parliament ku nsonga oba kubaga amateeka oba ki n'obaawo bano ajja okugenda mu constituency ng'alondoola emirimu gya gavumenti egiba gikolebwa mu kitundu ku fulo ya parliament tayimirira naye nga mu constituency
Floor ya Parliament taliyo, ne mu constituency talimu. They are here in town making their money and having parties all around. And you see the problem, Rogers, is we have, as a country, I think, is it a generation?
ng'otuwa
No, it's not a generation.
What is it?
I disagree with
Is
the
it a
idea
culture?
that it's a generation.
Mugo-
It is a system. It is a system. You see, we are overlooking these things. I've heard people say this generation is failed, this generation is disaster. It is a system. And the system sets the agenda for every other person.
Right.
If we want service delivery, we must make the system transparent. We must make the system able to be checked. Checks and balances. We cannot have an absolutism in systems where everyone does whatever they want and you expect service delivery. Like you were mentioning that some people come and they don't even know what they're supposed to be doing as MPs.
don't.
That is why they play solitaire in Parliament. Why? Because they did not know, they only took advantage of a flawed system, came to government to earn a sitting allowance in Parliament. He will drive the car, sit there for 1 hour, get his allowance for the day, and go home and not work for, not even in Parliament speak, not even their constituents. But because they took advantage of a flawed system and they are earning their money, so it becomes an income kind of venture. So we must change the system, make the politics affordable. But about service delivery, it should be about content, not the resources. Stand and speak what are the issues affecting people, represent their issues. If you have a best agenda, for us we will vote for you, even if you don't give people money.
But in
But
Uganda,
the
those with actually the best manifestos
don't
have money.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the system has been bent to whoever has, to the haves. So they have not, even if you have the best candidate, even if you are a patriot, you cannot run. So in my opinion, even they are doing wrong things. But the reason why we have that quality is because the system has failed.
Okay, thank you so much. And wano wetugenda okuba nga tuwunzikira show yaffe olunaku olwaleero. Comments mwebale nnyo, mwebale ddala. Feroz Muwonge webale kubanga kwoli. Magala Brian webale nnyo kubanga ogoberera. Jeremiah Mchibi n'abalala bangi nnyo. Waliwo yakomentinze ku nsonga yanduze y'obubenje. Ensonga nandi najogeddeko mu updates era neyanziza nnyo comment eno gy'oweereza. Waliwo akomentinze nagala Namuganza at one time also staged a one-woman battle in Bechabazinga of Busoga, causing chaos in the kingdom. That means omukyalo ono alabika
Gaza is a warrior.
Bagamba Mamutama takola. How is it said?
nti
Mamutama
Teyerya ntama.
But I don't mind if she's speaking about issues that are actually factual.
That's what I told
I
you.
have no problem. In fact, we should have more.
naye bw'abanga alina
We should
obuzibu remove
Namuganza.
No, well, if that is personal, it should go personal. She cannot use that. But if
But,
she has a point,
Mukulu Kato talked about using parliament okubanga yensonga buli omu waalwanira entalo ze ezimu.
Abasinga
Bw'aba
most
alina
of
akabuku
them.
ku Rogers nga akozesa parliament ng'ekifo waneeya.
And there are those people who are in leadership in the
yes,
same parliament,
that I agree.
including the office of the speaker.
Okay.
Because I gave an example of how Honorable Zaki was impeached.
With absolutely.
And
no
kakati
problem.
ate
And for the same reasons of
Wait.
the tweet, when Honorable Semju raised the same issue about Mhozi Kainerugaba, the first son, then we had the same speaker who used the same evidence of a tweet by Honorable Zaki to say that how
dismiss.
can you prove that it was the general using the same phone at the same time? Is it even his Twitter handle?
Okay.
And now it creates
So parliament yaffe bwetyo we tutuuse onagenda ndowooza according to Mao ne Siranda DP tebigitwala yonna batwalako nkumbi ne flag nkumbi ne flag byokka naye omuyini
Gwasigala mu DP.
Ani agukutte.
Baguwe mukulu mukaako. Bali babiri ye ne mukaako bagenda maaso n'okulwanirira.
This year I have only one positive thing. Okay. There could be others, but one that stood out for me in Parliament for the Kosasi thing about the Wamuturachi issue. I think that is people can have different opinions, but I think that was a good job. There was exposure of a flaw in recruitment in that regard. In my opinion, that is the one thing that.
Why are you emphasizing in your opinion?
We have had Kosasi. You see, my whole issue is one. We have had so many Kosasi meetings and exposing so many people.
Yes.
And they have made wonderful reports.
Yes.
But where are those reports? I will give an example of this woman
from
back of Uganda. Annie, I'm forgetting the name. This lady.
I've forgotten the name also. Something.
Producer Jadito comment.
Something.
I'm forgetting the name. That lady who sold so many banks on her farm, and she made WhatsApp messages, sell the bank off. What is the name?
No, but
because they have made so many reports. But the problem is, even after the reports are made, you will see the same people on the same courses say, we did what we
did. They did.
Bajenda, that was Bajenda. You remember the Bajenda issue? Yes. Where is Bajenda now? What did they do to Bajenda?
You see,
whatever she had done.
The committee did its job.
Bamuturashi. Bakamukuza recently. Want to head the African one.
Yes.
Kyotegeeza zino abundu bamuteka mu Kosase wali ne bamusoyaso ebibuuzo kunoonyereza ku ye tewali nnyo kyamanyi kikyuka.
The problem is enforcement.
The problem with the opposition politicians.
The
problem with the opposition politicians in Uganda and at the time, including this parliament, the same parliament here now, is that we have lost even what they are meant to do. They want politicking at every point, and they want the media to always cover them so that they see that honorable so and so has made the point. And you ask which point did he make?
Do you think?
Okay.
Did he impact anything? Do you think the committee was speaking about an issue that was actually factual?
Speaking about it was a different thing, but
do you think it was doing a good?
So are you encouraging everybody to come out and speak? And that's the end of the story.
No, see, the committee did its job. Its job description is make sure that
so when the committee makes a report, what should be done on that report?
Well, that is after the committee
was
has
it
done
done,
its
and
job.
what did the committee do for it report to be
That is out of the it is not the committee that implements.
But the same committee sits on MPs that are in the same parliament that influences the activities of the parliament.
Rogers and Kato.
They want just
akadde tekatusobozesa kubanga tweyongera ensonga eno omulundi omulala bwe tunaba tufunye omukisa tugenda kujogerako eggwe bulungi okusinziira bwendaba buli omu alina ensonga ejjateeka ku mmeeza gyalaba nti y'ensonga enkulu ba y'ensonga entuufu mu ddakiika emu emu nsaba oba obubaka obw'omunzika ne 2023 biki by'osuubira gavumenti erina okuteekako ennyisira.
Thank you so much, Lilian Luwedde and Kato. we disagree quite so much, but we respect each other's opinion, and we can postpone the debate another time. It has been a pleasure to be here. I think moving forward, the most part, especially on the side of government, is that we need to have priorities straight. We need to have priorities straight, and we need to have checks and balances. We cannot have individuals making individual decisions in representation of government institutions. The beneficiaries of government institutions are much broader and very many as compared to one person. So if you have checks and balances, it will become easy to check people even if they are powerful. So I hope that moving forward, the government in the new year tries to look so much into putting back the checks and balances of institutions and independence of each one of them, so then they can make independent decisions. You see, the issue with the Kato, what he was talking about is, even when these committees make reports, they cannot be acted upon because sometimes the individuals involved are powerful and there's no independence that our institution will make an implementation of those reports and findings. So in my opinion, I think as we go into the next year, we should look much into checks and balances. We should look at spending priorities. I think the government is actually going down. It is not a very good thing for us to wake up and be declared bankrupt. It is going to affect all of us, and not just the people in government. So as an individual, I hope that we look so much into that in the next year. And you know, let's also work hard as individuals, citizens of this country. The government can only do so much. It also means me and you have a role to play. So we need to do our job, do your part, and hold the government accountable on its part. You cannot blame another person for doing something when you did not do your role. Do your role, let the government do its own, and if it fails, then you can hold it accountable. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rogers. Kato, your closing remarks.
Yeah, my closing
Still,
remarks.
nga Rogers wachilese nawe.
Yes, that's how
That's how
I will also end my side. And I will say that it is every man's responsibility to think for themselves, first of all. And don't sit at your home and your comfort of your sofa sets and wait for any other person to think for you. No. We are ending the year. I have always told you to be responsible in whatever we do. Hold the government accountable on issues that you feel they affect you as a person. If you feel somebody is not doing what they are meant to do in the offices they hold, follow on them, call upon them, make them accountable, and they should feel the presence of the people and your impact on the ground. And to say that the government should make priorities that help and favor each and everybody of us as citizens, because it's Lord to provide for us so many services. And at the end of it all, we don't need so many representatives in parliament, at the local level, or in any leadership positions. But what we need are the services to be brought near to us so that we can be good citizens and enjoy our stay in the country. Then to say, as we come to 2023, I want to wish you a happy new year, happy 2023, and to say that set your goals, work hard, pray, hustle. Don't sit down and think that everything will come on a silver plate. No, you must work hard, put in your efforts, do what you can. But even where you did not fulfill some of what you intended to fulfill this year, you can postpone them to next year and make a list and maybe keep on making self-accountability to yourself and see what you have been able to achieve, and also encourage and support each other, and we can have and live in a better Uganda. For God and my country, Happy New Year.
Thank you so much, Kato Tumusiime. Mwebale nnyo mwenna abatugoberedde okuva ku ntandikwa ate paka wano tugenda okubanga tuwunzikira. Njagala okubategeeza nti okutandika n'ennaku z'omwezi 2 omwezi ogwa Gatonnya oba January omwaka 2023, the Mighty Drive egenda kubanga etandika ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya okutuuka ate ku ssaawa 4 ez'okumakya. So twakozemu enkyukakyuka ebeerako ebirungi bingi nnyo ebigenda okubeera mu programu eno, ebinnonogo bingi nnyo byotasaanidde kubeera nga ate osubwa. So balaza ya sabbiiti ejja oba Monday ya wiiki ejja, Mighty Drive tegenda kutandika ku ssaawa emu nga bwe kibadde kibeera, wabula egenda kuba etandika ku ssaawa 2 okutuukira ddala ku ssaawa 4 ate ez'okumakya. Sobeerako ate naawe osobole okubanga ogenda maaso weeyongera okumanya, weeyongera okutegeera ebigenda maaso mu ggwanga, ate naawe nga oteesa ku nsonga ez'enjawulo ze tujja okubanga ate twogerako. So ku ssaawa 2 ez'okumakya okutuukira ddala ku ssaawa 4 bwe budde bw'ojja okusobola okubanga olabira mu program eya Mighty Drive ku page yaffe ya The Alternative Uganda awamu ne Digitalk. TV. Kale ngenda kubanga ate nkwagaliza olunaku olulungi nkutegeeza nti Mighty Drive olunaku olulungi ejja kubeerayo awamu ne voltage ku ssaawa emu ey'akawungeezi. Ku lw'omukaaga the interface shuttle gisibwa okunno kwogatta ate ne snaptalk. So nze mbaagaliza kubeera bulungi nnyo. Njagala okwebaza abakulu b'enkoze nabo olunaku olwaleero. Ku kamera kubaddeko omukyala Teddy Tenjo ate nga mu control room waliyo mukulu Mukose Arnold Anthony kwogatta omwami Jeremiah Mukiibi. Bwe tukoze olunaku olwaleero ne bannange okuli Kato Tumusiime ne Rogers Tulyahabwe okubanga tetukutuusaako program nga bw'ogirabye olunaku olwaleero. Nsigadde nze Omumbejja Luwedde Lilian kambagaliza ate okubeera obulungi. Good morning.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.